All right, this is the copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. And this video is not for any monetary gain. It is explicitly for the reasons stipulated in the Copyright Act of 1976 under Section 107.
On the morning of October 12, 1995, Jonny Gammage, cousin and business partner of Pittsburgh Steelers football player Ray Seals, was detained during a traffic stop while driving Seals' Jaguar in the suburb of Brentwood, Pennsylvania. According to witness testimony, Lieutenant Milton Mulholland pulled Gammage over for tapping his brakes and called Officer John Vachtas for backup. The officers later claimed that Gammage, who was 5'6" and 165 pounds, pointed an object at the officers, which turned out to be a cell phone, and struggled. Mulholland and Vachtas, along with Officer Michael Albert, Sergeant Keith Henderson, and Officer Sean Patterson, ultimately pinned Gammage face down on the pavement. After several minutes, the officers' use of force suffocated Gammage, and he died. On November 27, 1995, Mulholland and Vachtas were charged with third-degree murder, and Albert was charged with involuntary manslaughter. The charges against Mulholland and Vachtas were later reduced to involuntary manslaughter. Henderson and Patterson were not charged in the incident. Officer Vachtas was acquitted by an all-white jury and a year later promoted to sergeant. Judge Joseph McCloskey dismissed charges against Mulholland and Albert after 2 trials resulted in mistrials. In January 1996, Brentwood Police Chief Wayne Babish, who had called for a complete investigation into Gammage's death, was fired by the Brentwood City Council for failing to support the charged officers. Multiple public protests were held in Pittsburgh and elsewhere, calling for justice for Jonny and federal intervention. However, in 1999, the Department of Justice declined to file civil rights charges, stating that there was no evidence that unreasonable force had been used.
All right, Shalom. We are the Hebrew Israelites from the Indianapolis branch of the Great Millstone. Here to give all praises, glory, and honor to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash.
Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teaching us this 100% truth. Salutations to them and our fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like it to the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, we say Shalom.
Shalom.
All right. Today is another installment of our camp series called For Thy Violence Against Thy Brother Jacob. And we'll be dealing with an article from one of the several sites that we use. This one is from EJI, also known as Equality Justice Initiative. And the article is dealing with the title as you see here on the screen: Police Kill Unarmed Black Man in Brentwood, Pennsylvania during a traffic stop. All right. And the opening scripture for our series, Obadiah 1 and 10.
It says, Obadiah, verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever.
And it says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob. This is talking about the violence of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, his continual, perpetual hatred and violence against the children of Israel, which goes all the way back to that curse. Not the curse, what he said in Genesis 27:41. Somebody want to grab that? He's mad about the blessing.
I got it.
All right, he sold his birthright. All right, go ahead.
Genesis 27, verse 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob.
Yeah, so that goes all the way back. He came from the field from hunting. All right, and couldn't wait for the stew with the meat to be done. That red meat, fully, the meat still had the blood in it. All right, and so he said, "Give it to me." He told Jacob, "Give it to me, give it to me. I'm parched. I'm about to die." Roughly paraphrasing. And he said, Jacob said, "Well, sell me this day your birthright." And in a nutshell, he sold his birthright. for some uncooked stew and meat. It wasn't fully cooked. All right, and that's where we are today. So now he's mad about that birthright, realizing what he's given up. And that spirit has been continual from that day all the way to the current day, as you see with the situation that just happened with Captain Kirk. It was one of their own who offed him. All right, we think it was something else too, but one of his own that offed him. Yet they still want to blame Jake. They went on to attack HBCUs, also known as historically black colleges and universities. Jake had nothing to do with that. All right.
Appreciate it.
Go ahead.
This is Ezekiel chapter 35, verses 5 and 6. It says, "Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity and the time of their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh by Shem Shai, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee." You see, so at the end of the day, all right, all the Israelite blood that Esau, even so-called white men, had shed through the force of the sword, we understand that's getting ready to come back upon his own head. And that's why the Lord is heavily judging America. Right? When you read Isaiah the 34th chapter, it goes into how this is the day of the Lord's vengeance and recompenses for the controversy of Zion, rough paraphrasing. So everything that's happening to America, the way America is being broken down on all sides, the Lord is paying back this place for everything that's happened to the children of Israel, right? And we understand the scripture in the number says that the land cannot be cleansed but by the blood of him that shed it. You see, so ultimately, in order for this land to be cleansed, right, Esau's blood has to be shed. You see, and the Lord, he's going to cleanse this land, right, by way of that nuclear fire.
Yeah, it has to be cleansed by the way of a nuclear fire. And going back into that opening scripture, it says, "Shame shall cover you," and that's why you see all the censorship on the internet currently right now. The state of Israel is in the process of not only buying TikTok, but changing the algorithm for it. All right, they don't want this truth coming out. They're being shamed, but it's too late. That damage has already been done, going all the way back to October 7th. Was it 2023 that happened? That started? Yeah, October 7th, 2023. Yeah, that lie is, you can't lie about it now. The whole world knows it, and they showed you in that meeting where Netanyahu got up to speak and everybody walked out. All right, so that's letting you know, all right, what's going on with that. And then it goes on to say, you're going to be, because of that shame and the stuff that you've done to Jacob, you're going to be cut off forever. Yeah, the time is coming. Not only are these curses starting to lift off of Jake and come on to you, according to Deuteronomy 30 and 7, but you're about to go into slavery. All right, twice as long and twice as hard as we did, as we were in it, but it's going to be in righteousness. We're going to be along with headed up by Yahweh Shai and King David. We're going to be leading that. All right, you going into captivity.
Appreciate it.
Go ahead.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 7. "And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee." Yeah. So just scripture you quoted to show that the Most High word be true and every man a liar. So this is anything that we're making up out of our own mind. This is the mind of the Lord, that all that put their hand on us, the recompense, the payback, is going to happen unto you. As also in Obadiah, it reads, verse 15, "For the day of the Lord is upon all the heathen, as thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head." So Galatians 6, verse 6 and 7, or I think it's 7 and 8, where it talks about be not deceived, the Lord is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. We also look at in Revelations where it talks about he that have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And it says it here's the patience and the faith of the saints, and the saints being the children of Israel. So this is what we're patiently waiting for. But as we're coming out and saying is that first the wicked has to be revealed, as it tells us in Thessalonians. Then shall that wicked be revealed, who the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, the brightness of his coming, roughly paraphrasing. And now that he's being revealed, people are, like you just mentioned, are recognizing that they're complete evil, wicked, and they don't want to stand in the same council.
Right.
You know, eventually, like I said, when they are found out, they're, you know, people will flee from them. You know, from all their agreements, as it says, all they that have been confederate with thee. That it talks about also in Obadiah. You know, that ate their bread with thee, that had these different agreements and these leagues. They're starting to, especially with the dollar, oil, and all these agreements, they're starting to flee and disconnect themselves. But first, as it goes back, you know, to the article that we're going to go into, it's just showing that the small things that we're reading that you did to the children of Israel is what you're doing to the whole world in scale.
Yep.
You know, saying that we're the criminals, but like our elders bring out all the time, it's like, yeah, you know, Jacob do wicked, you know, do wicked things, but you are the wicked.
Yep.
You know, so we do, you know, there are crimes that Jake commits, you know, but you do it on a mass scale, you know.
Yeah. I was gonna say, those crimes that Jake commits, you know, primarily against himself personally or against his own people.
Yeah.
He's not going out destroying other nations, stealing their resources, you know, wiping them out, you know, killing all the people. Jake is not doing that. Jake is not bringing in the drugs, okay, and the guns. You know, he's not responsible for the pharmaceutical company. He's not responsible for the stuff that's going in the air. He's not responsible for the stuff that's going in the food. So, like you said, on a global scale, you by far are the worst. That's why that opening scripture ends, that you shall be cut off forever. This world has to be rid of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, okay? And that's just not in color, okay? Because we know it's the seed. So you got a lot of dark-skinned Edomites, melanated Edomites that's out here. And we can tell who you are, you know, by the way you move and operate, okay? You're going to go right along with them. That's why, you know, it was at Matthew 13. You know, it's going to take the angels to, like, separate us, you know, the parable of the wheats and the tares, all right? So we can go ahead and get into the article. Like I said, it's on the screen here. Again, it's from Equality Justice Initiative. A link to this article will be put in the description box of the video. All right, it says, on this day, October 12th, 1995, police kill unarmed black man in Brentwood, Pennsylvania during a traffic stop. It says, on the morning of October 12th, 1995, Jonny Gammage, cousin and business partner of Pittsburgh Steelers football player Ray Seals, was detained during a traffic stop while driving Mr. Seals' Jaguar in a working-class suburb of Brentwood. And here we go right here. You know, growing up in America, you see a black man, a so-called black man in a white neighborhood in a very expensive car. You know, they've already assumed that you've stolen it. You know, it doesn't belong to you. How does this Negro have this type of money to have this kind of car? And it wasn't even his. You know, it was his business partner's car. But that's what they do. And we see that type of racism, you know, at every level, even with the insurance company. You know, if Jake has a black or red car, his rates go up. All right. And so these cops, you know, they mad because of their salary. Like, how does this, you know, a Negro afford this? And they pull you over and give you, you know, a whole lot of crap about it. All right. Back to the article. According to witness testimony, Lieutenant Milton Mulholland pulled Mr. Gammage over for tapping his brakes and called Officer John Voltas for backup. The officers later claimed that Mr. Gammage pointed an object at the officers, which turned out to be a cell phone, and struggled. Mr. Mulholland and Mr. Volchas, along with Officer Michael Albert, Sergeant Keith Henderson, and Officer Sean Patterson, ultimately pinned Mr. Gammage face down on the pavement. After several minutes, the officer's use of force suffocated Mr. Gammage and he died. This sounds just like a George Floyd, all right? Putting a knee on the neck. But here again, this is 1995. You know, we've been showing you going all the way back to the 1600s doing this series. This proves the coward that Esau Edom is. You got the guns, you got the numbers, you know, and this guy was small, you know, from what I read, only like 5'7", 160 pounds, 165 pounds, okay? It took all of that to take him down, and all he had was a cell phone, and you unalived the man. But that just goes to, it shows you the fear that they have of Jake. You know, you have mobs going all the way back, you know, 500 people, 1,000 people for one man, you know, one Jake, all right? And the guy's handcuffed. So it takes all of this, you know, because he was tapping his brakes, they say, all right? On November 27th, back to the article, on November 27th, 1995, Mr. Mulholland and Mr. Volchas were charged with third-degree murder, and Mr. Albert was charged with involuntary manslaughter.
Pretty sad.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we always bring this out, but again, it comes to a point that they're going to make up many, when we go into this article further, many of these things in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16. It says, "These 6 things doeth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue," the lying tongue, "hands that shed innocent blood." And so they, of course, you know, lied, said he had a gun, you know, and of course he was innocent. You know, it comes out that it was driving someone else's, his friend, his business partner car, right? And it says, "Hands that shed innocent blood, and heart that deviseth wicked imaginations." It says, "Feet that be swift to run into mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord amongst brethren." So, of course, anytime we read these articles, we're going to see many of these things pop up because that's how they are. This is Esau Edom. It's their makeup. Go ahead.
Says, going back to the article, it says, on November 27, 1995, Mr. Mulholland and Mr. Volchas were charged with third-degree murder, and Mr. Albert was charged with involuntary manslaughter. The charges against Mr. Mulholland and Mr. Volchas were later reduced to involuntary manslaughter. Mr. Henderson and Mr. Patterson were not charged in the incident. Officer Volchas was acquitted by an all-white jury and, a year later, promoted to sergeant. Judge Joseph McCloskey dismissed charges against Mr. Mulholland and Mr. Albert after 2 trials resulted in mistrials. In January 1976, Brentwood Police Chief Wayne Babish, who had called for a complete investigation into Mr. Gammage's death, was fired by the Brentwood City Council for failing to support the charged officers. Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Precept.
Go ahead.
It's the book of Psalms, and you can speak on it. Psalm 73, verse 5. It says, "They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men."
And you know, you have murdered a guy, you know, for saying he pointed a weapon at you, which turned out to be a phone, tapping his brakes. Where's that against the law? Okay. Where's that against the law for like tapping your brakes? But this is what got this Jake unalived. Okay. And then look at what happened. You know, they got away with it. For the most part. He is not in trouble as other men. And then you fired the person, you know, who knew something was wrong. You know, but the city council got rid of him because he knew it wasn't right. You know, that something didn't smell right. All the guy did was had a phone and he tapped his brakes, and he's dead now. Come on now, go ahead.
Yep. Zechariah chapter 11 verse 4. Go ahead, you can speak on it then. It says, "Thus saith the Lord power, feed the flock of the slaughter, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty.
Yeah, it says whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. So that's what you see take place, when the Edomite cop kills a Jake man and the Edomite is brought to trial and ultimately nothing happens. And they're let off and they get leave of absence, but they don't really get persecuted or judged according to the law. You see, you always seeing these Edomites get away scot-free, and when it comes to Jake, man, they have no kind of regard, no remorse, because really in their eyes we not human. See, we just another nigga, and we're just animals to them basically. So that's why they have no problem with shedding Jake's blood.
When it's them who's the animals, you got videos of them proudly eating raw meat, mating with animals, just have no sense of hygiene, So yeah.
It says, and they that seldom say, "Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich," and their own shepherds pity them not.
In which their own shepherds go into some of the leaders of our people, man.
Mm-hmm.
You got sellouts amongst our nation who are purposely leading the children of Israel astray, which in doing that, you're helping for the affliction that's already upon us, man.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, you got wicked men amongst our nation that has joined hand in hand with Esau that has to be judged too.
Yeah, and what's going on in this system is that it's from the top to the bottom up. So the police pretty much, back in the days, they were a lot of sheriffs and police were pretty much created to police the slaves.
Yeah.
The so-called blacks, and then within the communities, keep them on the other side of the railroad. As far as certain cities, and as a result, with that power, they asserted themselves, abused their power, in the position that they had, the freedom in which they were given, especially in a time where Jake couldn't tell. You say you bring it up all the time. It's like you would take one, you could have several so-called blacks, or Hispanics, Native Indians witness what happened, but they would still take the voice of that one white or man or woman, and they could be falsely accusing, and the people around them, from the police to then go into the government, the council, up into the federal courts, all of them, then to the president, in certain time periods, all of them were fully against the so-called blacks, in the community. So where could we go, for help? What's that scripture, our vain help?
Lamentations.
Yeah. Please.
This is Lamentations chapter 4 and verse 17. It says, "As for us, our eyes as yet fail for our vain help, and our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us." Because
what ends up happening in situations like this, because that was in 95, right? The very following year, wasn't it King?
No, that was I think 3 years.
3 years?
2 or 3 years prior, 92 or 93.
Yeah, okay, so I got that backwards, but I know because I remember that, and they publicized showing that beating.
Yeah.
That he got, and then people rioted in the streets, right? This is the thing that happens. You go out, these things happen. It sparks this. It provokes Jake. We need to do something about in the community. The police, they go out and to the council meetings, and they walk and protest. And even further back, they were sicking the dogs on you for protesting. Things like that. So that was our vain help. The very people that's doing that's putting us in this oppression, you're going to them for the very help. And what did they say? They said, "Oh, we're going to investigate it, and they're going to use the same people."
Yeah. You go all the way back to when the slaves were released, and we talk about this. You know, as the 13th Amendment was going through congressional approval, they were changing all of those black codes into laws to keep Jake under their thumb. So now, you know, it's like if 13th Amendment, in a nutshell, slavery is over unless you become a felon. Okay. So what happens is all those black codes that became laws, they were felonies. So that puts you back into slavery. You know, they show you that in the movie Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. That's what that was about. Okay, getting Jake on anything to put him back on those plantations. You know,
like something like this. Like if he was back then,
yeah,
flashed the light, you know, just by hitting his brake, they would have, you know, picked him up, put him in jail, and for a long time.
Yeah.
But then this time, you know, they
just take you out. Yeah, and you had mentioned too, you know, the over policing going back to the slave patrol. All right, and yeah, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but you know, when you look at that, the slave patrol morphed into what's the modern police today.
Right.
Okay, and when you look at that badge back then and those badges today, that's that 6-point star that, you know, the state of Israel has for their symbol. Okay, and then we do know for a fact that it is our police that are trained by them. So, you know, they use lower level Jake to lower level Edomites to control Jake, take themselves out of it. You know, that's another one of those things. They are not in trouble as other men, but it's still the same nation that's doing it. All right,
and that's also another way, though. We know that, you know, they're the enemy.
Yeah.
But that's sowing discord, you know, because another thing that you bring up all the time is that you were saying make the lowest white man feel that he's better than a.
Lyndon B. Johnson's quote.
What it said? How it go?
It says, if you make the lowest white man think he's better than the best black man, you will give him someone to look down on, and pretty much you can be able to pick his pockets clean.
Right. So it's like, so he's pretty much playing you against the so-called black man,
Yeah.
but then his own. And what's the scripture say? He that is good unto him,
Sirach 14:5.
To himself, to whom he be good.
right.
Yeah.
So he that is evil to himself, to whom he be good. So he's already, if he's doing that toward us, you know, and then he's playing you, say, hey, he giving you the power to be like, hey, you can control these people, and you're happy in that. Now you see all the things that are happening, and this stuff is turning back on you.
Yep.
And now you're like, we need to work together and be together.
Hell no.
Right? Let me bring this out real quick. This is Habakkuk 1 and 4. It says, therefore the law is slack, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doeth compass about the righteous, therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. So again, it's just the point, you know, because wickedness have exceedingly and polluted the whole earth. You know, as the people are, you know, or as the rulers, so are the people. You know, so the rulers are wicked, the people, you know, of the earth are wicked, except for the righteous, in which the Lord has chosen, you know, and has shown and given His mercy to. But outside of that, when things happen, you can look on it. You can look on in today's time when you see something like that, and you can go through the comments, and you can see a lot of times the comments are like, especially with so-called black men, you know, they're like, he deserved it. He probably was a criminal.
Yep.
Like the things that people are saying on the internet is sometimes can be baffling if you're not used to it.
Yeah.
You know, how they completely discard the life of you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, and to your point, you know, if you're not used to it, I just saw a clip yesterday. This Jake woman bawled out crying about this little Edomite kid called her a nigger. She like, with the hard ER. Hey, look, it don't make a difference. Hard ER or just the A. You know, that just goes to the stupid mindset of Jake. Neither one of them is acceptable from them. Okay? Don't make a difference. But she's crying. 2025. What you crying for? You know, if you don't know that's how these people are and how they raising their children by now, you lost. That's what they do. There's that, we talked about that, you know, that in the opening scripture. You know, the violence against Jacob, it starts with words first, and then they keep moving, turning it into something worse. All right?
You got any more?
Yeah, this is back to the article. This is the last paragraph.
All right.
It says, multiple public protests were held in Pittsburgh and elsewhere calling for justice for Jonny.
Going back to the scripture, we were saying multiple like that happened.
Yeah.
Then our people go protest to the government, to the very people who created the system.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, and a lot of people, we talked about this before too. You know, you keep begging for these reparations. The same government has on the books right now. Look it up. House bill number 4321 that says any state or municipality that even presents legislation about reparations for the enslaved, the descendants of the slaves, you will not get any federal aid at all. And right after that hit the floor was solid, they denied the reparations for the last few survivors of the Tulsa massacre in 1921. Right after that hit the floor.
Yeah. Let's finish that article.
Yep. It says multiple public protests were held in Pittsburgh and elsewhere calling for justice for Jonny and federal intervention. However, in 1999, the Department of Justice declined to find civil rights charges, stating that there was not enough evidence that unreasonable force had been used. Man, not enough evidence. And they told you what happened. They pinned this guy down until he suffocated.
Yeah, who's possessed slave them to hold themselves not guilty.
Yeah. Yep. So that's it for the article. On that one, like I said, we'll put a link to this article in the description box. And anybody got anything else?
Let me just one precept.
Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, this is Joel chapter 3, verses 19 through 21. It says, Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. And this Egypt speaks to spiritual Egypt, as you read in Revelation, the 11th chapter, where spiritual Egypt, right, talks to modern day America. As ancient Egypt was known as the house of our bondage, and what's the house of our bondage today? America, which is why this place is called spiritually Egypt. It says, for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. So ultimately, everything that we're reading that Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, has done to the children of Israel here in this land of America, and that plays into the reason why the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is going to bring that judgment down upon you. You see? And we haven't even brought out everything that Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, has done to us as a nation. You see? Hey, the Lord knows, right? The scripture says his sins have reached to the heavens. So the Lord, he knows each and every single thing that Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, has done to us as a people, which is why the Lord said in Ezekiel the 25th chapter, right, that when he exacts vengeance upon Edom, he's going to do it by the hand of his people Israel, and we're going to do it according to the Lord's fury. You see? So, you know, we angry and vexed, right, under the rulership of the wicked every day, right? And you know, that anger is going to be, you know, when the Lord like reveals and shows us everything that this devil has done unto us, man, that anger, all right, and hatred that we have for the so-called white man is going to be heightened in the kingdom. See, because the Lord, he's going to put his fury on us. So it's going to be, you know, hey, once Yahweh Shai's kingdom is established, man, then the first 1,000 years are going to be pure hell. Hell, the first day. You know?
Yeah, can I back here right quick on something when you said the Lord has seen everything? It's quick precept. Proverbs 15:3. The eyes of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. So, like you said, you know, he's seen everything. All right.
It say Joel 3:20. But Judah shall dwell forever in Jerusalem from generation to generation. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, For the Lord dwells in Zion. And how is the Lord going to cleanse our blood? By destroying Babylon the Great, aka America, completely. Right, we quoted it earlier in Numbers 35.
I got it.
Okay.
This is the book of Numbers 35 and 33. And it reads, So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it.
And also, who was the main perpetrator that is guilty for shedding our blood? All right, the nation of Edom, so-called white race. So also, guess what? Edom's blood has to be shed, right, in order for our blood to be cleansed.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord, He's going to do that when He brings the destruction upon America, man.
Mm-hmm.
And we speak of Edom. You hear his name a lot because he's the ruling class. But these other nations that had their hand in our downfall and demise and the different portions of captivity, slavery that we were in under them, are going to also receive punishment as well. It's just the greatest of punishment is going to fall down upon Esau, Edom, as thus said the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you have anything?
Yeah, just to back you up. This is First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 10. It says, What nation hath not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? So everybody has put their hands on us. You know, that's why Jeremiah 30 and 16, you know, if you want to grab that right quick, says what it says about everybody who devoured us. I'm just roughly paraphrasing I got it. Grab this. Go ahead.
It said Jeremiah chapter 30 verse 16 says, Therefore all they that devoured thee shall be devoured, and all thy adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoiled thee shall be a spoil, and all that preyed upon thee I will give for a prey.
God. So yeah, that's everybody. All the other 17 nations that had a part in our downfall. All of them. Okay? And, you know, the time is up. You know, we're about to be in rulership. And like that scripture said, you know, what you did to us is going to happen to you. In righteousness, though, we have to keep making that point. Because some of that stuff that was done to us was quite vile and disgusting.
Well, precept.
Right. Go ahead.
It said, Isaiah 33 and 1, Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealest treacherously and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. So just going into, you know, again, Esau and the other nations who spoiled us. But of course we know that, again, we're talking about the ruling class, this kingdom, you know, it started with the Amalekites on down, you know, the ones that claim to be the people and are not. They have their great enterprise that they're reaching for, you know, they're looking to ultimately put everyone under this one world government underneath them. And like Job is mentioned in Job, when they are about to fill their bellies, you know, then the Lord is going to rain down upon them,
God.
you know, with destruction, with a sword of destruction. Because again, in their mind, they really think, in the pride of them, that all the evil that they've done, that the Lord has been with them. And they think with all the evil that they have done, that they have not seen any major recompense. But the Lord said that He will repay.
Yep.
You know, He's going to repay vengeance. And it tells us that, you know, that wicked in Sirach, where it says that if one stiff neck, let's get there real quick, could go without punishment, go without being punished. Let me see, is it 11? Where is it? Here it is. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 16, verse 11. He says, If there be one stiff neck among the people, it is a marvel if he escape unpunished. So when you look in the stiff neck, it's proud, you know, headstrong, right? Rebellious, and that's Esau Edom,
God.
right? And he says, And the Lord is actually saving him for last. He's saving him for him to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's why he's not been touched.
God.
Like they said, was like going to Cain, and then the song of Lamech.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have not been touched
Yep.
because the Lord is allowing them to build up their tab that when he's going to destroy and
Mm-hmm.
destroy them. And then it says, "For mercy and wrath are with him. He is mighty to forgive and pour out displeasure, and his mercy is great. So is his correction also. He judgeth the man according to his works." And we know that the fruit or the doings of Esau, Edom, so-called white man, has been nothing but evil. And this is just one of many examples that we have. You got something?
Yeah, you said, I just want to back up something you said. You said, it is a marvel if he escaped unpunished. Remember the scripture you quoted before that, you know, he said the Lord, and when he's about to fill his belly, the Lord is going to rain his wrath upon him. Who can dodge raindrops? Nobody. You can't escape. So that's what, you know, it said. It'll be a marvel if he can escape. You know, when he says rain, you cannot escape. You know, when it's raining on you, period. All right?
Hold on, I got something else for. Let me see if it comes up for me. Noticing. Let's see. I think it's in Amos.
What is it?
Yep.
Amos 5 and 18.
5 and 24. He says,
Oh.
"But let judgment run down as waters,
God.
and righteousness as a mighty stream."
God.
So again, when he comes to judge, he's going to judge in righteousness.
Yep.
That's what Yahweh Shai, you know, he come mighty to save. You know, roughly paraphrasing. You know, he's going to be coming and judging, and his judgment is going to be righteous.
Yep.
You know, he's going to be completely justified in all of the things that are that's happening upon the earth to every man. Because again, as it read here, he's going to give every man according to their works.
Yep.
So of course, unto the righteous, when he returns, the righteous are going to receive a good reward, and the wicked and those that are doing wickedly, the other nations, they're going to receive their ultimate judgment. You know, anything else?
That's all I have.
All right. So with that, we hope that this lesson was edifying, uplifting, exhorting of some sort to the elect body of true believers of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Before we end, we'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the globe. And to all those listening and learning to you, we say Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.